G'day, this video is to summarise what I've found about gluing vinyl or PVC rafts and airbeds. I've had a look at a number of different glues. I've been using a few patch materials. I've taken a knife and punctured this airbed, which cost me $10, in 5 places, and put a pinprick in there. And here are the results. Now, if you click on, I think it's Show More at the top of the comments section below, then you'll be able to get links to where I've actually been doing this, where I've actually been doing the glue. And there's another link there which will explain why it is that I'm interested in being able to repair different rafts and lilos in backcountry when paddling down rivers. Okay, so there's no one easy answer to this, because you have to choose between getting an instant patch, which isn't going to work all that well, using PVC glue in a location where it can evaporate immediately, in which case that'll take between 15 and 25 minutes for a permanent fix. Doing an attempt at a permanent fix using PVC glue and vinyl that will last permanently, but will take 10 hours before you can apply any load to the raft or the airbed, which is pretty impractical when you're actually out on the river. Or a halfway method of using contact adhesive, which gives you something that you can peel off but stays pretty well stuck, perhaps well enough to be a permanent solution, even though it's not a chemical weld. And that is going to take around about 10 to 15 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes on the river. Less if you've got a camping gas stove to speed up the drying process. Okay, so you can have a look, as I say, at the details in a much longer and pretty tedious video that I've made, which is showing you the fine art of using contact adhesive like these two Selleys products. So I'm just going to jump to my recommendations. Firstly, I would definitely get some of this Coghlan's repair tape or something like this. I found this online for $2.75 from Harvey Norman. That took, I think, a couple of days to arrive in Sydney, Australia. I would definitely also get this Coghlan's Airstop. Coghlan's is C-O-G-H-L-A-N-S. This is a PVC solvent glue. It's appropriate to understand how that works, but I'm just going to give you the quick summary here. It's brilliant for doing pinholes. It may be appropriate for doing longer patches, but I'm really not sure. I've yet to experiment doing a permanent patch. I'd definitely get yourself a contact cement. These are probably so similar that I doubt you could tell much difference between them, but I do have a slight preference for working with the shoe glue. It really isn't going to make all that much difference. Most contact adhesives work, I would imagine, much the same way. I have to confess I've only ever used Selleys products, given that I'm an Australian and I'm not even aware of competitors for domestic products. Okay. Now, as far as the patching material is concerned, you'll quite often get little patches with camping stuff that you can use. In fact, they sell this rinky-dink little patch that comes with this $10 Jackeroo airbed. As far as I'm aware, it's completely useless. I've tried using it, but yeah. I think, though, that if you're out in using this for floating down a river, there is a possibility of getting a whopping great big rip, in which case it's a good idea to get some patching material from somewhere that's left over. This is left over from a 1980s raft, so Not many people will have access to that. This patching material has been cannibalised from a $15 raft. Don't cry for the raft too much, because it's also given me this quite reasonably useful little paddle, which is the perfect length for paddling an airbed, even if the blades are definitely on the small side. And I've got myself a 1/2 kilogram boogie board that I've cut out. This used to be the floor of that raft. So that particular one is the Best Way raft from Kmart or Big W, don't remember which one. I think if you have a look at the fine print, it may be made by somebody that's Best One word. Good luck finding it. An alternative would be the Wave Zone. Again, I don't remember if this is Kmart or Big W. I think it may have been Big W. This was, I think, $20. This particular one weighs 1.7 kilograms. This weighed 2.1 kilograms before I cannibalised it. And they're around about the same size, so that does suggest that this material is going to be about, I don't know, 20-30% thicker. Okay, or another choice of good patching material is just getting a $10, well, that was on special, I think they usually retail for $12 or $15. Get yourself an airbed and use that for experiments and then patches. The thing that I'm most interested is using these Sevylor PVC rafts. The fabric is much tougher. Most of the problems that I've had with this when I've used it just on a single day trip have been permanently fixed by using Airstop. I could have actually done that in the field at lunchtime. 5 layers of Airstop does seem to do the job. If you're doing that, be very careful to use very, very thin layers of the Airstop, as thin as possible. And I would strongly, look, I don't know if using a timer is going to be essential, but I would be having a look at the instructions. Let's see if we can get them here. The instructions on the back say use 5 minutes in between. And I don't know if that's essential, but from what I have learnt about how PVC glues work, it seems to me it probably would be essential. The instructions also say 10 hours if you have this glue trying to evaporate from underneath a patch. And very briefly, the way you should understand that the way that PVC glues work is that they actually dissolve the molecules of the patch, and they dissolve the molecules of the material that you're patching, and those molecules can then sort of mingle together while the solvent is still there. And when the solvent has evaporated, hopefully you've got a chemical weld between the PVC molecules of the patched material and the PVC molecules of the patch. Now, I suspect this Airstop isn't purely PVC solvent, because when I've added 3 layers here, it's actually bulked up, so I think that there are some additional PVC molecules in it. For that reason, something you might want to do, which I haven't done, is experiment with using plumber's PVC glue. You can go along to TradeLink, anywhere that supplies plumbers, and for something like $5 get a 250ml or a 500ml little plastic pot. That's obviously a bit too big for bushwalking purposes, more than you're going to need. But just be very careful about the container that you use to store PVC glue. The Airstop comes in glass. You're going to have to figure out a way of making sure that never breaks, because you don't want its contents to start dissolving your pack or the waterproof bags that you're using to waterproof your pack. Yeah, so if I'm doing a multi-day trip with either using Sevylor rafts or using airbeds, this is what I would do. I'd make sure that I've got one of these packets. I reckon would be good enough, and it's going to be light, and it costs like $2.75 for a packet. So that's a damn useful thing to get on your way quickly. I would want to have one of these air stops for doing pinpricks, and you can do a good enough job, I reckon, at lunchtime. Just have a cup of tea, and you'll be able to fix up small holes while you're on the river. For larger rips, for anything larger than around about 2 millimeters, like I've repaired a 3 millimeter rip with this, but that was with 5 layers, and a good 40 minutes to let all of the thing completely dry out. So you could use Airstop for up to 3 millimeters, I reckon, but only with about 40 minutes. For anything larger than that, I guess I'd go with the shoe glue and a lot of patching material. Just a small amount of patching material like that often comes with a lilo is not going to cut it. If you've had a branch rip out half of your lilo. And the other thing that you might want to consider is take up some sort of backup flotation, which is just enough to get the job done. For example, a possibility that you can consider is having some method of adding buoyancy to a backpack, a multi-day backpack. Have your backpack waterproofed with 3 to 4 layers of good quality garbage bag, tied with shoelace to seal them. The drawstrings are ridiculous, so don't try to use those to seal your garbage bags. But if you use shoelaces tied carefully, and if you are extremely careful about packing from the inside and outside, then those large orange those large orange gardening plastic bags, or the stronger garbage bags work well. And a good trick is to have tough layers on the outside and the inside, and then lighter, cheaper versions of those plastic bags in between. If you do that, you can then start using your backpack, your multi-day backpack, as a buoyancy device, especially if you've added it up, if you've made it more buoyant by blowing up a lilo inside it or some wine casks inside it. Okay, well, there you go. Please give us your own experiences, especially if you've done the work of actually using plumber's PVC glue, and can give us advice on how to do that. That would really be appreciated. I would definitely suggest that you experiment before you get out into the middle of nowhere, before experimenting with plumber's PVC glue, because what it's going to do is melt a hole in the side of your raft or your lilo if you add too much of it. So find out how to use it before you have to use it. Okay, cheers.